All right, so I'm going to create my Age of Reason brochure. I'm going to create it from scratch. And I just want to show you before I start creating this, what I've done is I've created a folder on my desktop. This folder has the person I chose to work on. And I also included a few images that I wanted to include. These are images that relate to my topic and that will help like my audience understand what I'm talking about in my brochure. The first thing I need to do is I need to pull up my instructions. So I'm on the Age of Reason brochure handout, and it's going to tell me exactly how I need to lay out my document. I'm going to open up Microsoft Word, and I'm going to create a blank document. It says change the paper size to 8.5 by 14. To do that, I'm going to go to Page Layout, Size, and change it to Legal, 8.5 by 14. I'm going to change my page to Landscape. To do that, I go to Orientation, Landscape. I'm going to change my margins so that they are narrow, right? It's originally set to 1 inch at the top, bottom, left, and right, and I'm going to change it to narrow so it's only 1/2 inch on the top, bottom, left, and right. Next, it says set the 4 columns without a line between each column. So I'm going to go to Columns. Notice this is all in the Page Layout tab. I'm going to go to More Columns, and I'm going to change it to 4 columns. Make sure that it does not have a line between. You do not want a line between. Select OK. We're going to skip our first column to start. So I'm just going to hit Enter 3 times. And I'm going to go up to Page Layout and say Break and Column Break. This first column will be used for our title. So we will come back to that. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep this handy because there are some important reminders down here. I'm going to go to the folder I created. I'm going to open it up, open up the Microsoft Word document, and you'll see that what I've done is just as on the handout, I've broken each of my sections into life highlights, biggest achievement, effect on society, lasting impact, and conclusion. I'm going to highlight all of that text that I wrote. This may be text that you wrote on a Google document or on a Microsoft Word document or even sent to yourself in an email. And you can just copy that text and simply paste it on your document. Once I've done that, I can close my other Word document because I don't need that anymore right now. So let's take this document and the text that we have, and we're going to have to see if we have, first of all, if we have enough text, right? Because we still have a whole empty column over here. And number 2, just see how we can format it to make it more attractive. So the first thing I think that I'll do is I'm going to create my headings. Each of these headings I created, I'm going to highlight, I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to insert word art. I'm going to choose a word art style that I like, and there's a lot of them. And I encourage you to take a second and choose one that you're particularly happy with. And remember that you can always come back and you can change the color of the outline or the fill color or whatever it might be. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as is. The one thing to keep in mind though is that this is way too large. So I need to make this word art smaller. I can do that by going back to the Home tab and clicking on the decrease font size. And I'm actually just going to have my title be 22. That sounds good. And you can see that my text wrap layout option comes up. And for my title, I want it to be in line with the text. I don't want the text wrapping around my title. I want it clearly above all of the text that's going to go into that section. So I clicked in line with the text. I can close that. And I might want to take a second and expand that text box so that I can center my text I can center my title, over my text. I'm already a little unhappy with one of the things on my document because I see that, like, look at my right-hand margin. It's kind of a mess. So I'm gonna actually highlight all the rest of my text really quickly. And in the Home tab, I'm gonna change my setting from align left to justify. I think that's gonna clean up my document a little bit. I also have an opportunity right now before I make all of my other titles to decide would I want a different heading. Now remember, you're trying to make a professional document, so you really want to keep that in mind as you choose a font. The typography plays a huge role in like the look of your final document. So take a second, see if you find one that you prefer more than Times New Roman. And then make a selection. Again, remember, you can always come back and do this later, but as I'm going to be setting up all of my other titles, it's good to have one that I know I like now. So I might choose this one. And you can see that actually that title, I might be able to fit it onto one line, but not quite. So I'm going to change the size of my font again for my word art to 20, and now it fits. And I might have to come back later and adjust that depending on my other titles. So here we go. I'm going to apply the same exact settings because so I have consistency throughout my document. I'm going to apply the same exact settings to each of my titles. Change the font size to 20. Now that looks different. Oops, sorry. There we go. And again, just like I said, it turns out 20 is going to be too large for that. So I could either change my title, right? Or I can decide to make this smaller. So let's see how much smaller I'd have to make it. 16. I'm okay with that. And so I'm going to change my title at the beginning to 16 also. Again, I want consistency throughout my document. I'm going to highlight the next title that I have, change the text, insert word art, and change the font size to 16 and center it. I have two more titles. I have two more titles that I need to change. So again, insert word art, choose the word art that you like, change the text so that it's consistent, change the font size, give it an outline, stretch it from column to column, make sure it's centered, and one last one. Insert, word art, change the text in the Home tab, change the font size, change the font, And there we go. So now I've added my titles using WordArt into my document. And you have a lot of different options, and so don't feel like yours needs to look exactly like mine. In fact, the goal is for you to be able to use these tools so that you can create whatever type of document you want. I can see that this first paragraph never got justified, so I'm gonna make that adjustment. And I think now I'm ready to start inserting images. Before I do that, I just want to go back and I want to make sure I'm familiar with what the requirements of this document were. Number one, it says a minimum of 3 images. So I have to have at least 3. It says border lines dividing each section of the brochure. Okay, I'll come back to that. I need a list or either bulleted or numbered, so I need to make sure I do that still. And I need to use WordArt. I already did that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start adding images. The first one's going to be a life highlight. So let's go to Insert Pictures. Let's go to my desktop. Here's the folder I created, my Age of Reason folder. And you know, it turns out one of his biggest life highlights was, one of his life highlights I'm actually going to use this opportunity. I'm going to go and grab one more picture that I didn't grab. And I'm going to look up the school that he went to. And let's see. Unfortunately, I can't find that school. So I'll stick with the pictures that I have already. So for life highlights, I'm going to insert a picture. And you know, he spent a lot of his life working on like understanding the human body. And so maybe I'll use this image and I'll just click insert. That image actually came out pretty small. In general, I want to set either my height or width to 1.5 inches. And for all of my images, when I get this option for my layout, I want to wrap my text around the image. I can either wrap it square, tight, and you can kind of look at how that affects your image depending on your selection. So in this case, I'm going to actually use like the square text wrapping option. And I'm going to close that. And I might decide that I want to put this, maybe I'll put it right up here near the top of this section. And I'm ready to add my next image. For my next image, the biggest achievement, one of his biggest achievements, it turned out, was writing this book. So I'm going to take the book and insert that image. And you can see that one came out a lot larger. And look what it did to my whole document. I'm going to look at the height and width, and the larger dimension I'm going to change to 1.5. Okay? And I'll use these text wrapping options, and I'll go ahead and I'll apply the same thing. And again, this is why we want to make sure all of our text is in first, because we do tend to have, like, there can be some like minor glitches when we add images in. They might move some things around. In fact, something strange happened when I added this last image. Let's try again. So I'm going to, you know, this title right here, I don't think I added it using WordArt. So I'm just going to go to Insert. Notice I deleted it. Insert WordArt. go down. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. I'm hitting undo. Okay, hold on 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. And so again, you can just see in like these cases, sometimes even like with lots of experience, you can run into some unexpected little problems and you just want to be able to like work around those. So I'm going to go back now. I'm going to start inserting my images again. So insert picture. This is the first picture I inserted. There it is. I'm going to change the height, which is the larger of the images in this case, to 1.5. And I'm going to do the same thing as before and just use the square text wrapping tool. You know what? Something's not good is happening. All right, so one of the things that just happened was that my word art was moving. So I had to move my word art back, and you can see down here I added a space. I hit enter, and that actually moved my text into the next column, which helped, again, alleviate the problem of these text boxes moving outside the word art. I know that's a lot, but let's go ahead and add some more images. So, and hopefully it'll go smoothly. So I'm going to go to insert picture. The next picture I have is this human body photo. Again, sort of just emphasizing that was like a major focus of his. Remember that the largest dimension should be 1.5 inches. So in this case, the width, it's wider than it is tall. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this to text wrap using the square text wrapping option. I'll position my picture. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to see a couple of things. Number one, I need more text, right? I can add like one more photo, maybe even 2 more photos, but I'm probably not going to have quite enough. I can also start playing around with my title. So maybe I'll take a second, and before I continue over here, I'll put the title together. I'm going to go to insert, and I'm going to insert word art, and I'm going to name this The Life of Andreas In fact, I might just name it his name, and I will change that text size just a little bit smaller. And I'll move it down. Okay, and there's lots of different like word art effects you can like play around with. So I encourage you to do that. I'm going to insert an image. I save this one, his profile photo for this cover page. And for this image, this one can be a little bit larger. So I don't want it too large, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I might put like a little border around it. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the like oval, so I'll keep it square. And I can center that image. And then down here at the bottom, I want to make sure that I get credit for it. So I'm going to say created by Chris Rubin, computer applications, 1, and the date, right? So I'll just put November 9th, 2016. You might not like those spaces, so you can just go up here and just say remove spacing after paragraph. But you might want to, maybe you want to highlight your name and the course. Maybe I'll do everything. And then I'll add a little bit more spacing. So I might choose to move the image down a little bit, maybe that down a little bit, and go to File, Preview, and I can take a look at what it's looking like right now. I'll stick with that. So let's actually move it up just a tiny bit. Here, I'm not like that happy with the fact that my text ends before my image. I'd like my text to go a little bit more. So if I can like think of, just this book was the beginning of, or this book marked the beginning of the study of human anthropology. I learned that this morning, so that's, I can add that in. I could look at a, I'm going to look up this book, which is mentioned in here. See if I can find that, The Epitome. And maybe here's like some pictures from the book, so I could save this image into my folder. And maybe I'll insert that image. Insert picture. It's way too big, so I'm going to change the larger dimension to 1.5 inches. And change it to text wrapping using the square option. And then this text needs to move down. So I'm getting closer, but again, I still need more text, right? So I might want to add a little bit more here in the effects on society. I might add another image. I might take a break. I'm going to go and look for a few more pieces of information, maybe one more picture, and then I'll come back and we'll finish up this document. So the last step is to add some color to my document. I'm going to do that by following the directions in the assignment. it says to put some colored rectangular panels behind the text that you created. So to do that, we have to insert a shape. We want to pick a rectangle. We'll send them to the back and we'll choose a color for them. Okay? So to do that, again, I'll start here on this first tab. I'm going to go to Insert, Shape, and I'm going to grab a rectangle. And I'm going to start my rectangle just above my first line of text and just wide enough so that it's symmetrical on each side. I'll do something like this. Okay, and once I've done that, I can change my fill color. I'll change it to this orange. And I'm going to change my shape outline to have no outline just because that's my preference. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say send to back. And I'm going to right click one more time and I'm going to say send behind text. And now I'll see my whole document with this text box around it. The easiest way to have consistency throughout your document is now to copy this, right? You can do that by right-clicking the text or the rectangle, copy, and then pasting it. I'll just hold down Control V. It pastes it. And then it will line up here. Right here, you can see some text that has some white behind it. If you get something like that, just go to no color. Come on. And it should go away. So to get rid of this white background, I'm going to highlight the text. Sorry, once I highlight the text, my little format painter is going to come up. I'm going to go to Styles and I'm going to say Clear Formatting. Okay, that creates a little bit of a problem. It does get rid of the white background, but then it puts everything out of order. So I'm gonna have to clear formatting, and then I'll reset that text to Times New Roman, font size 10. And I'll stretch it from edge to edge. So not too hard, but again, a little bit of a pain. And then I've got one more time, I'm going to copy the rectangle, paste it. I'll place it over my last column. You can see I have a similar situation here. So I'm going to highlight all my text that's affected. Go to Styles, Clear Formatting. There we go. And I'll go back and I'll change the text, Times New Roman, font size 10. I'll make sure I have all of my text on the page. That's probably because I borrowed a little bit of information from the internet. So don't do that, otherwise you might run into a similar problem. And that looks pretty good. The problem is I don't like the fact that all my text boxes are the same size, so I'm going to just select this rectangle. I'll go to Format, and I'll change the shape fill. Maybe I'll do yellow. I'll come over here, change the shape fill to green. And I do have one more. I'm going to take this text box or this rectangle, copy it and paste it. Nope. I'm going to copy it and paste it. There it goes. And I'm going to set it over my title. I'll change the shape fill color. And there we go. When you're finished, you should go to File. You should go to Save As. And you should save it in your folder that you created. Like I've got my Age of Reason folder. And so I'm going to put Age of Reason Final Project. In addition, I should go to File, Save As, and save it again, only this time instead of a Word document, I'm going to save it as a PDF. And that should ensure that it saves in a format that will be easy to view for myself and Ms. Bradbury.